how to ditch the marketing clown show and grow your business like a professional. Now, this is going to be something that I think you guys are going to find really interesting. As you guys have any questions, go ahead and type them in. I'm going to address all of the questions at the end if there are any, and make sure you guys get everything that you need. Now, throughout this, there's going to be a couple of hopefully eye-opening statements, a couple of tactics, some marketing strategies, some sales strategies that you're going to be able to see and identify with that you can apply to your business today. That's the goal. All right. So stick with me now, because your system, it all starts with a few things. Now, like I mentioned, I'm not going to mention anything about a lot about me, but just so that you know, if you've never heard anything, I've been in business for 5 years. I own Northwicks Consulting, do this basically in my sleep with all my clients. Like I do this every single day. It's repetitive. I love it. I've been doing this for 5 years. We've got about 4 people on our team, and we are constantly really putting all we can for our clients. So that's really in a nutshell for me. Let's move on to the systems. So it all starts with your audience. This is where people fail. As crazy as it is, this is the most basic part, but yet this is where people like to skip. And let me explain. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. As you can see, this isn't a training on how to define your audience. This is assuming you already know how, but I feel compelled to say that if you aren't listening to your audience, if you're so focused on what you want to say, and you're not listening to what they're saying, meaning you're not doing the research, you're not showing up, you're not actually listening, then it's going to be impossible for anything I share with you today to actually work. And I see this happen all the time. They'll come to me, clients and prospects, they'll say, I know my market. I know what my audience wants. And yet we'll get into it, we'll go through our exercises and we'll do our process, and we'll find out that they're really disconnected and that we need to create this bridge so that they understand exactly what they're going to offer. Right? Because without knowing what you're offering, you can't ever speak the right message. And a lot of folks do it backwards. They'll create the offer first. They're like, I have something great that I want to sell. I want to wrap it up like this. I want to do this. And they're like, well, who's going to buy it? Let me find somebody who's going to buy this. That's backwards. That's backwards thinking. You do not want to start with your offer. You start with your audience, because you have to understand that the audience is going to give you the information that you need to know how to craft your offer. If you do it backwards, you're basically trying to put a square peg through a round hole. It's never going to work. So what do we have to do? We have to pay attention to the audience, knowing you, or assuming you know that. The offer now has 4 elements to it. So when you're drafting this, think about, what are you going to add to get them off the fence? What are you going to take away to get them to make a decision today? What are you going to put on top of that to make it irresistible? And what can you guarantee about your own work? Okay. So those types of things are going to make your offer more, it's going to convert at a higher level. Without those, you can still see sales. You can see clients. You can get people to do what you need them to do, but it's not going to be at that level that you want. So what do you have to do? Well, you've got to make sure that you have these elements. Test them. Test your offers right now with these and test them without them. My data for the last 5 years has shown that it is going to outperform every single time. My offer will outperform your offer if you're only using, let's say, a guarantee, and you have no bonus, no scarcity, no IIO. 100%. Right? So I know that. And so I want to share that with you to say, look, it's not that difficult. All you have to do is create some bonuses. And that's not a discount in price. That just means, what do you have that you've already created that you could give to them that would add value? The way I like to think of it is there something that they would need before they do business with you that you could take care of as a bonus, or something that they would need after they do business with you that you could take care of as a bonus? Very good ideas to keep in mind. But that doesn't even matter unless you understand your margins. So before we put the cart in front of the horse, we have to understand that the margins are what play the biggest part in your results, in your scalability, in your return on investment. Because I've seen it oftentimes where clients will say, well, I'm just not seeing this back. And it's like, okay, well, that's a business model issue. That's an outgoing expense issue. That's a vendor problem. It has something to do with your margins. Maybe you're paying yourself too much money. Some folks, I'd say 99% of businesses commingle their money, right? So they have no business account separate from their personal account. They just take in revenue and they're like, oh, well, this revenue has to pay my rent. Well, that's never going to get you out of a hole. It's never going to get you a system that's going to say, oh, I'm producing profit. Well, your profits are getting eaten up by your rent. And you're saying, well, I don't have any profits. That's not the way that it works. And it happens a lot of the times with new business owners. So the first thing you have to do is know your margins. If you don't know your margins, you have to get with somebody who's going to walk you through that. Then we have what it's going to continue with, which is number 4, your marketing strategy. This is very important for us to take into consideration because let's kind of back up real quick with this. So if we don't have an audience, if we don't have an offer, if we don't know our margins, nothing else matters, right? We don't have a marketing strategy. We can't. But let's assume that we know who we're marketing to, we know what offer we're going to present to them, and we know the margin that we're going to make, knowing it's going to be profitable. And just as like a back thought, I feel like maybe one of you, 2 of you watching this are going to say, well, why does it matter so much about the margins as long as I'm seeing profit? Well, it's about scalability. If your margin is not 4 to 1 on your cost per acquisition, then you'll never be able to scale. So notice the question here, how much are you willing to invest into getting one client? If you don't know that answer, like to the penny, if you don't know that answer, then there's no advertising that's going to help. And a lot of time, prospects will come to me and they'll say, Brandon, I've got all this ready. Why won't this work? Or will this work? And it's demoralizing when I go, it's not going to be a good move because we have to add so much. So the only option is to increase your prices, change your business model, or figure out something else, another platform like direct, like referrals, right? Something like that, social media, and you're just putting in more effort on time versus the actual investment of money. So margins are very important. Margins will determine your strategy on how you can market yourself. The larger the margin, the larger you can invest, the more you can invest into acquiring a client and still remain profitable. That's the winner of marketing. So then we have to think where, how often, and to whom. If this is done correctly, y'all, this is going to get you to see a shrink of your sales process by about 500%. I've seen this over and over again. If you look at a lot of the data, it shows 9 months to 2 years where people are going to take to need to do business with you. With this particular layout, with the way that we set up our VPC method, along with our Northwicks sales system, following what we've gone through just a little bit so far, we're going to make sure that we know and lay out, how are you going to create this content? Where are you going to distribute it to? How often are we going to distribute it? And to whom is going to see this? Then you have this digital fence. And this fence now becomes your chance to be able to say, I'm going to say what I want, when I want, to the most relevant piece of my market now. What better opportunity do you have to serve than to show up every day and say, I am here with a solution for you. And it doesn't matter if you do business with me because I'm here for you. Because the moment you do that, your marketing becomes authentic. It becomes genuine. And now you have the opportunity to say, hey, look, let's move you into a sales process, right? Let's get you, now that you're interested, I got your attention. Why don't you listen to my offer? How can it really help you? Because I think we all know as business professionals that the real value takes place after the transaction. We can only do so much for free as business owners. That's true. But that doesn't mean we cannot help them. So the real value, actually, you serve them more by making the sale, right? And that's the goal here, is we want to make sure that we make the sale. So after you've refined your marketing process, you get to refine your sales process. And this is what that would look like. Ask yourself these questions, right? Real quick, I'm going to take a drink and ask yourself these questions. Right? What's your customer journey look like? If I asked you that, would you know? Right? If I asked you that, would you know? That likelihood of that is probably 50-50 right now. It's probably 50-50, I'd say, with half of y'all on here, because it's not something many people put time into, which is crazy to me. So that, along with how long will it take for them to convert to a lead to a client? Do you know those metrics? And if you're brand new, you're not going to know this. It's going to be an arbitrary number. Maybe take an average benchmark within your industry, talk to some friends, some colleagues who have done this, and you're going to get a number. But you have to have an idea about what to expect. If your expectations are skewed, then you're going to be in such a bad place mentally throughout the entire build out that you're never going to stick with it long enough. And you're going to go, well, I just don't understand how it's not working. And it's because of your lack of clarity. And typically lack of clarity comes from lack of preparation. And lack of preparation comes from typically confusion. And confusion stalls all production. So that's where I like to lay out a particular set of paths that you can follow so you know what each step needs to have. So in the end, you've got a whole sales and marketing system that's going to produce predictable results. right? That's the end game here. So after we have those 5 things, once you understand those, think about that. We just did all that work, right? And again, I'm just talking about it with you. We didn't actually do it. Imagine putting in the work on that. That's all the legwork that would need to be done prior to ever launching anything, prior to ever doing anything. And that's only to one market segment, selling one offer, promoting one offer to one service. That's it. Now we have to do that same thing to different segments of your market, using different offers and promoting different services or products that you have in your arsenal. You see how much fun this could be? Like, I say that not to get you overwhelmed. I say that to get you excited, because there's so many ways that you could build on this. And it's never ending. It's always like, oh, well, can I beat this control? Can I beat this control? Maybe this offer will outperform the next one. And you have the data and you know your margins to remain profitable during all these testing phases, right? That's pretty darn fun. So once we have everything in line, we know exactly what we're going to do, right? Let's recap, right? It's going to know your audience, your offer, your margins, your marketing strategy, and your sales process. Those 5 things are going to be laid out prior to anything being done. So now we get into how are we going to lead with value? Remember, my value pitch close method is what's gotten me now well over 7 figures in sales for myself. I mean, we manage so much in ad spend each month with clients. I mean, we do a lot I'm building a foundation. That's like, this has done a lot for me personally and for my big mission in life. So, I mean, these systems are the real deal. I had one client, just to give you an idea, who is still using this and hasn't been a client for 4 or 5 months now, right? And still just hasn't even touched the ads. Not this, the whole system that we created for, still not touching. I'm talking about months later. I'll tell you more about her at the end of this. But the way we're going to lead with value is going to be, if you're selling low ticket products, you have a couple of options. Now, number 1 option is that you run it direct to consumer, which we have here. Number 2 option is that you have gated content up front. Now, gated content, all that means is you're asking for a name and an email. That's it. It's better, in my opinion, it's going to be better for that. Why? Because some people argue it. So I guess it's arguable, but in my opinion, it's always better to build a list of people who you can sell to than only run traffic to an offer of people who might buy. Think about that. Okay. My whole goal is to make sure you have a database of people who are interested, future-proofing your business for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That's the goal. Now, if you're the type of business mind who's like, I need this short win, I need this today, I've got to be able to, that's totally fine. You could do that. Now, the problem with that is you're not building up a list. You're selling stuff, and you're possibly selling stuff, but it's going to be at a lower percentage and it's going to take more effort. To me, that sounds like a lose-lose for me as a business owner. I would rather create the value up front, build up the lead base, garner the trust, and then deliver a sales pitch that I know is going to be to the most qualified portion of my market. That's the goal here. Now, if you're using low-cost products, you also want to keep in mind that your liquidating offer, meaning the offer you're going to use to recoup any ad costs, that should not be something that you're saying, I want this to be profitable. Okay. If you're selling a $27 course or a book or something like that, you never want that to be the thing you want to be profitable. You want that to recoup some of your ad costs, but never the profit machine, never. Or else you're going to be really, you're going to be looking at your data and going, oh my gosh, this isn't working, I'm losing money. It should only be to recoup some or all of the ad cost. It shouldn't be to generate revenue at a profitable margin. Okay. Now, if you're selling high ticket services, you really only have one option. I've tested so many different options. Nothing else works. Can't cut corners. As a matter of fact, I had one of my good friends from high school I was talking with said that every time you cut a corner, you get 2 more. Think about that. If you cut a corner in a piece of paper, what happens? Boop, you double up the work. If you double the corner, right? You cut the corner, get twice as much work. It's crazy when you think about how many times people want to cut the corners. You can't. Selling high ticket services means that you have to take time out of your day to solve people's problems in advance. You have to be willing to do that. Now, the old school way of doing that was what? Going door to door, doing live events, or live events still work. I mean, if it wasn't what was going on, of course. But the old school way was, door to door was, things that created this sense of personal touch. And people have lost that now that it's like, oh, I got a computer. I don't need to do anything. I put up a message. I put up an ad. I put up a post. I've had folks say that. I put up a social media post. Brandon, why aren't I seeing any results? And I'm laughing because it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because there's a lot of people out there. And this is what the marketing clown show is all about, right? So many people out there that are just completely clowns in the marketing world that are selling this packaged nonsense to people, and then they end up being disappointed and they hear the truth about how it really is simple, but it's not laid out the way people think it is. You have to do the work. There is no magic funnel fairy that you're going to just wake up and they're going to stuff this funnel underneath your pillow and you're going to wake up and go, oh, this is what I've been waiting for. $1 million funnel. I'm now good at what I do. Like that's not how it works. We've got to make sure that you have a very simple process, value, pitch, close, need to create results in advance. And then that allows you to test your concept, pre-qualify your leads, and get you those predictable meetings. If we look at it in its nutshell, it's the giveaway. So something short, actionable, goal-oriented, and easy to consume. Those 4 attributes should be your giveaway. That's what you're focusing on. You're focusing on, how do I create these checklists, guides? How do I create these quizzes, these surveys? How do I create this opportunity, these masterclasses, these other ways and avenues, toolkits, all kinds of things that you could just build. And then to say, I'm going to give this to these people, right? That's the idea. Without that, you're just another business owner. You're just somebody who's asking for a sale. And that's fine. You can make money like that, but that's not what I teach my clients. And that's not how I run my business. So for me, it's about, how can I deliver results in advance? Then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to deliver even more results in advance. Why? Because that's what people need when they're investing large amounts and sums of money. That's what has to happen. There's no shortcut to that. Either deal with the low cost products and try and build up a every month residual, right? Which is really hard to do. Really hard. I've tried that model. And you have the bad part about that are the credit card cancellations, right? People get new cards, people's cards expire, then you have to stay up with that. And then it's just like, oh my gosh, the headache with the logistics. So you sell high ticket services as your main go-to, and you're going to have to get into the trenches. You're going to have to get out there every day. Lead with value. Then we get to what happens when you lead with value. This is the beautiful part about everything, because the benefit now starts to come in. This is where you get to talk about yourself. You know that part of the conversation when you're meeting somebody new and you start getting excited because you're like, what are you about? What are you about? What are you doing? And then you're just waiting because it's been maybe like 15 minutes where they've been talking about themselves. And you're like, man, I can't wait to get a chance to talk to them about what I do. I hope they ask me about what I can do or how I'm living or things like that. Once it turns to the conversation on you, don't you love talking about yourself? Most people do. We're humans, right? So now, because we've delivered the value up front, we've begun the conversation by delivering what they want to talk about. Now we can monitor that behavior, and based off those that are doing certain things, we can now introduce them to your philosophy, your methodology, and your tactics. Now, how cool is that? So instead of you being that kind of guy who's like, hey, I've got this cool stuff, buy my stuff, I've helped all these people, I've done all this stuff, like they don't care at that point, right? Like at that point, they don't really care. There's a point in a customer buyer cycle or a client buyer cycle that they've got to know who you are. But knowing who you are doesn't matter to them until the value is established. Think about anybody in your life. How many people do you have in your life where the value was established after they were in your life as a friend, where you just let people in? You're like, oh yeah, they're not really valuable to me. They don't really do much for me, but I'm they're in my life. We hang out often. I bet you there's number 0. Anybody who's in our life is adding value. And if they're not, then we're upset that they're in our life. So we want to give these folks who are your prospects and in your market the opportunity to go, look, I've just taken interest in this person's value. Now, how do I get to know who they are? I don't want to search. Not a lot of people actually want to do the research on your product, on your service, on your testimonials, how many people have had results. That's very naive to think that they're going to go and do that kind of research. They will maybe Google once or twice once we really nail in that message. But most of the time, it's up to us. And that's where my system is going to put them back in front, or put you back in front of them and say, look, they've shown the value, or they've shown interest in the value. Now I'm going to be able to deliver them my philosophy, my methodology, and my tactics. And then you're going to want to be able to treat each pitch like a close-knit conversation with just the right person. That's the important part. You're not trying to sell to everybody. You're selling to those that have just taken a specific action. You're selling to those who who are, or you're pitching to those who are interested in who you are, not just what you do, right? Think about that. These folks are interested in who you are, not just what you do. And that's why it's important for you to know who you are. And with us and our clients and with our process, we make sure that the philosophy, the methodology, and the tactics are laid out, that it's clear, and that those are created in such a way and distributed in such a way that shrinks the sales process. And that's where we get to now closing the deal. Without the value up front, without the pitch, how hard would it be to close the deal? And most time people show up closing the deal with this amount of pressure, not only on their back, but they then take it from their back and then put it on the prospect, right? I need to pay rent this month. I have to pay my car bill. I have to pay my insurance, whatever it is. And they carry this weight. They're like, if I don't do this, I can't do this. If I don't make this sell, I can't do this. They pressure these people into making sales or into trying to buy. And that creates buyer's remorse. It creates more refunds and chargebacks. It creates this haste within the relationship. So there's no chance of them ever sending you referrals. Why would anybody want to do that? Well, it's because that's what's being taught. Again, the marketing clown show. It's crazy how people will make you feel bad if you have a 2-call close. If you have a, if you put more time in with a client than maybe other people have, all of a sudden now your system's broken. All of a sudden now, well, you're getting taken advantage of. No, there's a give and take to everything. And when you look at the way your business is ran, you can create the sense of authority, but still deliver, I should say, over deliver on every single thing that you're ever promising, right? Because when you could create this sense of environment that's like, or I should say the sense of comfort in an environment that all you're doing at the end is asking these 8 words. That's it. Because you demonstrated your ability that you could do everything that you say you're going to do. That's what you've done already. Now it's at the end and you get to now ask them, hey, would you like some help with putting everything together? That's it. That is it. No shady sales tactics, nothing. Just genuine interest, demonstration, and then a nice call. It's a strong call to action, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. It doesn't feel aggressive. And the best part is you don't need a script for it, right? You can remember 8 words. Would you like help with putting everything together? You can remember that. That doesn't take a script. Now, how does it come to this point? By knowing your market, which is knowing your audience, your offer, your margins, your marketing, and your sales. Those 5 things are going to be what you need. Then we set up the value, phase 1. We set up the pitch, phase 2. Then we set up the close, which is phase 3, which is where negotiations and tactics, presentations, all that stuff comes into play. All right. So I'm going to keep the screen up for a second. There's a lot on here, but does this, I hope this is all making sense to you guys, because this is where a lot of folks are going to drop the ball. A lot of folks are dropping the ball in this particular stage where they get people in front of them and they cannot close a deal. So what does that mean? Does that mean that the marketing is broken, right? Let me ask you this. How many times have you woken up in the morning and said, I'm going to sign up for a strategy call with a complete stranger on the internet with no intention to purchase from that person at all, just to kind of see what they're about? You ever done that? Me neither. Me neither. And so what does that tell us? That tells us that people who are being found from a specific system, if you are having any type of result, positive result, people showing up and having a conversation through the phone, through computer, whatever it is, if you're talking with interested people and you can't close the deal, that's again a sales issue. So we have to remember that when you're building out your system, that's why I call it sales and marketing. The VPC method is going to support this marketing side. Then I have my Northwicks sales system, which is going to support the sales side. When you have a clear-cut vision and you know that your marketing is only going to take you to this point, it's not going to do the selling for you. The marketing is never going to do the selling for you. It's always up to the business owner or to the salesperson or to the sales page, whatever mechanism that's doing the selling, right? That's what it's up to. So if you're getting people to a point and it's stopping, then you have to work on that particular phase. And that could come from improving the marketing prior to, improving the presentation, understanding how to negotiate better, creating a new offer at the end, testing different things and in all different ways, right? It could be mannerisms, it could be tonality. Most of the time, it's about presentation, though. I'd say 90% of the time, it's about having a bad presentation that creates this clog in the sale process. And then that's where the revenue starts to go, oh, I'm lagging. And then the owner says, well, how about the marketing? And then it's like, well, what about the sales? So notice that if you ever look at big businesses, the sales and the marketing departments are never friends. Why? Because the marketing is always saying, numbers look great on our end. How are the sales? Sales guys care so much about closing the deal with pressure versus actually providing the value that they say, oh, well, we're only getting a bunch of tire kickers who don't really want to make decisions today. And then they blame it on the marketing. You need to switch up the marketing. And the marketing says, no, everybody coming through is qualified and ready to make this decision. Why can't you sell to them? And they're like, well, it's because they're not marketed correctly. Notice that's the cycle it's always been. It will always be like that. So what I do is I work with small businesses who are growing and looking to grow so that that doesn't happen. So that your sales and your marketing system is combined as one. You can grow and scale without the headaches of having a team of people that you have to try and manage. As a matter of fact, these sales and marketing systems actually do the work of about 4 people. That's the beautiful part about this. Now, we get to understanding that the marketing, like I think I've nailed that home, right? Marketing leads the charge, but sales is always what matters most, 100%. And instead of having a broke system that isn't really a system at all, why not build a system that's guaranteed to put you in a position that makes everything you do in business more predictable? Right? That's the goal. Because my clients don't ever and will never again have issues with generating quality traffic, lead generation, sharing their message, getting meetings, closing deals, creating offers, scaling their efforts, hiring a team, or any internal systems and processes from here on out. That sounds like a pretty headache-free week to me, right? And it's all because they have the VPC method and the Northwicks sales system in place. Now, lady off to the left, that's Lakita. That's the one I was sharing with you. She actually just broke 20 grand on her own within the system in just a few months and without any maintenance. We're talking about very little maintenance. And it's just amazing to see how she'll call and be like, hey, look, this is kicking butt, da, da, da. And I love that. And then you have Lauren, who we ended up doing, 27,000 in 5 days with her with one of our systems. But that was a monthly recurring. She's still collecting from, it's been over, I think, 120,000 in over a year. She's collected just from this one system, particular offer with this one way that we had it set up. Then you got Matt, who actually, it's been almost a year now, I think, that we've been working together. And he's cleared now over 6 figures with his new system. So, I mean, a new 6-figure income with the system based on having now predictable inbound leads who are going to move through the process at a predictable speed because we have the data, we know how to analyze it. Now, let me show you what I mean. All you have to do is, if you'd like some help with putting everything together for your own system, is just sign up for a $1 trial, right? $1 gets you 30 days. And all you have to do is head on over to vpcmethod.com/$. Now, this particular page looks like this. So that's what we're looking at here. You're going to come to this page. It's going to be at vpcmethod/$. And you're going to see that everything here is what you're going to get. You're going to be able to see a couple of client results. You're going to be able to go through and see a little more about what we're going to do together. This is a 12-month coaching program. So for 12 months, you can get access to today for $1. You're also going to get the online training academy. You're going to get the hybrid course. You're going to get the private group. I mean, we're going to go through everything over the next 12 months so that you can get what you need. Now, your system should be set up in about 21 days. That's what we're going to be looking at here. So as a quick overview for you to review, you can kind of take a look. And that's just what's going in the first 3 weeks, more results for you. And then here's what's going to be included with your enrollment. So a lot of people, when they come to me, they really have an issue with how do I write better copy? How do I structure my pages? How do I write better ads? How do I get a better result? What's my system if I have a client onboarding process that's not very efficient? What about X, Y, or Z with Google or YouTube or anything like that? So everything that you need is going to be provided for you. And any questions that you have will be taken care of through our private group. And that way you will always have access to everything that you need to make sure your system's running and performing well. This is going to allow you that predictable result that we were talking about. So once you get to this page and you type in vpcmethod.com/$, then scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see a little bit more about why this isn't a course, what you have access to, and how you have a guaranteed system. Now, again, right here for $1, 30-day trial. All you have to do is just select this plan here, and it's going to take you directly to right here for the dollar trial. Once you get here, just go ahead and fill out the order form, and then you'll have complete access to the entire Sales and Marketing Academy. Well, I had a blast with you guys today. I hope you guys got a lot of value out of what was going down. Just to kind of give you a quick recap, make sure that you know your audience, your offer, your margins, your marketing strategy, your sales process, and then make sure you lead with value, you earn the right to pitch, and you create your philosophy, methodology, and tactics. Then you have the right presentation, you understand negotiations, and you start to close the deal. And again, if you'd like any help with that and you want me to work with you over the next 12 months to help you put together your own system, go head on over to vpcmethod.com/dollar, and I will take care of that with you. As soon as you get in there. All right. So I had a blast with you today. Looking forward to doing the next training with you. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime. All right, guys.